In the chat room, 3J said international ball players are getting drafted at a higher rate to ensure that there are less black men becoming wealthy. That's a great point. Because that was also what the last two lockouts were about. People always talk about, well, these athletes are getting paid all this money, all this money. I don't know if people understand that the way the salary cap is structured, there are only a couple players per team, and on some teams, no players that are really getting any kind of significant coin. Back in the 90s, before the first lockout, you could have your Samaki Walkers, your up-and-coming players who weren't proven getting a $70, $80 million deal because they could spread that money up and down the roster. They had the lockout back in 99 to make less money available to the players. Players' revenue share went from like 61% down to 58% of the amount of money that they drew in. And then they had the other lockout in 2011 where players' share went from 58% of the revenue to 52.5% of the revenue. And what they did was they made it to where, okay, Steph Curry can get signed for $250 million. So can Clay. But when you get past that, the rest of those guys, if they want to be on a championship team, they're playing for league minimum. League minimum, and how these players don't get paid like a business the way you can write off all these business expenses. They're paid as employees. They don't get to write off any of that stuff. They get paid every 2 weeks. First check usually being September 15th of a normal season. That's first payday, because that's usually when the training camp usually starts the second week of September. So you get paid every other week. Oftentimes going into the NBA, players are behind the button because they take advances, right? It takes a lot of money when you were going to Carolina. Now you have NBA workouts all throughout the country to work out for different teams. You have you played for UCLA last year, so now you got this appearance to make. You have all these commitments, and all those commitments require money that you don't have. So agents and agencies advance you this money. Now you got an apartment that you got to stay in your new city. You don't have the season ain't started yet. Who's gonna cover that rent? Your advance. Okay, you want a car. You want to be able to get around. You want to be able to eat throughout the summer. You didn't get paid in college. You're not gonna get paid till September 15th. How does that get covered? In your advance. So you have players coming into their rookie year, sometimes $1.5, $2 million in debt. A debt that they can only pay back every 2 weeks out their paycheck. The owners know this shit. So when it comes times to say, okay, we're going to stand for injustice, yeah, the top two players you see, they probably can afford that. But the rest of these motherfuckers, if that check don't come in 2 weeks,
they're in trouble.
They pay auntie rent. They pay their cut. They buying their nephews. They paying for their nephews' karate. They paying for they bought my house. All these niggas buy my mama a house. They never got enough money to pay for that house cash, so they got a mortgage on that motherfucker. People think they buying these houses cash. When you get your paycheck every 2 weeks after Uncle Sam done took 45% of what you make, it ain't no buying no goddamn house cash. Now that you have to pay your agency back and everybody else that you owe coming in,